All right. So, this was a topic that we agreed to early on, and it's something that I think is critical because it will not only transition to a couple of the questions that I have for the second half of the debate, but it's something that is unavoidable, and that's Israel and Palestine. Um, I have a lot to criticize both Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard on when it comes to that, but I'm gonna let both of you make the case for them. Um, in terms of, I don't know, who has I would frame it as who has the most pro-Palestinian um, record mindset and statements. So Obi,
Yeah, sure.
please kick off.
I would say it's an undisputed fact that Bernie has the most pro-Palestinian record especially compared to him and Tulsi. Bernie's the only candidate on the field. Bernie's the only candidate on the field that is calling to cut Israeli aid for what's going on in Palestine. Tulsi Gabbard is not. Tulsi Gabbard has always supported the Israelis over the Palestinians. So she's always supported Netanyahu. She went on a far right Israeli conference in 2015. Bernie did not. So Bernie is more pro-Palestinian, and that I would love to see that being disputed.
Hmm.
Okay.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Um, this is from an interview from 2017. The question is, if a two-state solution fails, Curry asked Sanders, would he support one state with equal rights for both Israelis and Palestinians alike and equal citizenship? Sanders' answer was, no, I don't. He said, I mean, I think if that happens, then that would be the end of the state of Israel, and I support Israel's right to exist. You know who has never, ever, ever made a statement, not only in a situation between Israel and Palestine, but ever that one group does not deserve equal rights simply so another group can exist? That would be Tulsi Gabbard. You also know who has never signed on a legislation signed onto a letter to try and bully the United Nations from participating in BDS in any way, form, or fashion? Tulsi has never signed on to that. Bernie did. And guess what? Marco Rubio wrote that letter. So we already know what it looked like. And Bernie signed on to it. Guess when that was? That wasn't 2014. That wasn't 2013. That wasn't 2012. That was 2017. But time and time again, I'm hearing this lie that somehow Bernie is just infinitely better. Don't get me wrong. Tulsi's had her problems on Israel Palestine, but primarily that was 2014 before Tulsi was introduced to the realities of the situation and began to wake up slowly. At this current moment, Tulsi doesn't take any money from Israel at all. And in fact, they actually hate her. There are actually Israeli lobbies that are dedicated to try and take her down. However, Bernie takes money from J Street. If you don't know, that's basically an American-based version of APAC. And he spoke at J Street as well. And he said some pretty good things. He said he'll divert aid from Israel to Gaza, and that's all well and good, but there's a lot more than just Gaza with this Israel and Palestine conflict, and it seems like he just was using buzzwords because everybody can readily identify what Gaza means to the movement. However, like I've said time and time again, as imperfect as both Tulsi and Bernie are, Tulsi has never made the statements recently that Bernie has made. On top of that, let's just look at the facts. Tulsi has been the most outspoken critic of Benjamin Netanyahu, and it isn't just a superficial, oh, let's speak out against Israel so it makes people think that I'm better on the Israel-Palestine conflict like Bernie is tending to do. Has Bernie said anything about Golan Heights? No, he is not. Tulsi did, because Tulsi knew that whole situation with Golan Heights was really about the same thing everything else is about: money, resources, oil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She identifies Benjamin Netanyahu as the root, and even was talking about the election with Benjamin Netanyahu and the who, I can't remember who he was running against, but basically she was talking about how we all need to pay attention because it will affect the outcome of not only Israelis but Palestinians' rights as well. She said very clearly, very clearly, not only on my show, but on Jimmy Dore's show, on Kim Iverson's show, and TYT show the same day, when asked, do you believe that the settlement should exist? Absolutely not. Full stop. No. And I asked her personally, well, I know you haven't been the best on this issue in the past, and explain what changed. Not only did she explain how her position changed, but she explained to me where it originated from. She told me I went to visit Auschwitz, and that, which is, how a lot of people get got. It's how I got when I was young, and visit Auschwitz by watching a movie about it. And her empathy for the plight of Jewish people are what made her partial. But she had not been shown the other side of that fence. As she has been shown the other side of that fence,
you got 30
as
seconds.
As with everything else, she's improved vastly, and she's the best in the field as usual. And as she learns more, she will be better than everybody else. But you can't tell me that sitting in a room with Bernie and Tulsi, and you look at everything, comments and all from the last 3 to 4 years down the line, that Bernie is clearly the better than Tulsi on the issue, because that's a lie. That statement alone, you will not give Palestinians the same rights, even in a one-state solution. Even in a one state where everybody's under the same state, you're not going to give them citizenship and equal rights. That is, you know what they would call Tulsi if she said that? Tulsi's Islamophobic. But it's Bernie, so we don't call it that, right? We just ignore it. Okay.
That's time.
Making sure.
All that, yet Bernie's the only candidate on the field that's actually calling to cut the actual funding going to Israel, and Tulsi is not.
Yes,
also,
I don't have a statement for Tulsi cutting aid. I want it real quick. I want to, and if there is one, by all means, shoot
it. It was in her town hall.
I want to point out that there's an article that I've gone to a few times on my show in MemPress. Let me pull that real quick. Written by Niko Peled, whose father was an IDF general in the 1967 massacres, and then who then turned around in 1967 and advocated for a two-state solution. Mm-hmm. The point of the author is, and I think it's a very valid one, and this is something that both Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard do, is advocate for a two-state solution. That this 50-plus year-old idea has moved on past its sell-by date. And that even restricting aid or diverting a little bit of the $3.8 billion that we send Israel a year, even diverting an unnamed sum of that, an unspecified sum of that, is putting the tiniest of Band-Aids on the
structural issue,
gaping, bleeding gashes that have existed because of the amount of money that is already flowed. There's also no mention whatsoever from either of these candidates about restricting influence or intelligence capabilities and domestic spying technology from Israeli tech companies that have direct ties to Unit 8200, which is Israel's NSA, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And this
you're not going to get any arguments from me there.
And this is going to open up a broader conversation about the candidates in general, because we're at that point anyway. Obi, the progressive axiom is Bernie listens to his base and we can move him to the left. Do you see an instance where Bernie Sanders doesn't criticize Benjamin Netanyahu because the Democrats got the green light to criticize Benjamin Netanyahu because they've been supporting?
Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Also, you can help us upgrade the studio and take this show on the road to cover the on-the-ground politics that you love by clicking on that GoFundMe link in the description and donating literally anything. Anything helps. Also, you can follow us on Rockfin, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. And hey, more than anything else, people, always remember, find your balance. Peace.